Dime qué tú quieres, papi. ¿Quieres que lo mueva para ti? Mueve, mueve. ¿Te gusta cuando me muevo así? Así. Mueve, muevo, mueve.
Hey, you, we up in the place. We up in the place. We up in the place. Hey, you, make your body shake. Make your body shake. Make your body shake. Hey, you, we up in the place. We up in the place. We up in the place. Hey, you, make your body shake. Make your body shake. Make your body shake. Hop, hop, jump, skip up on the floor. If they didn't know, then we gon' let them know. Drop low, giving them a show. We gon' give them something that they never seen before. Hop, scotch, 784. Bouncing on the beat while keeping the flow. Stop, watch, freeze and go. Cock-a-doodle-doo is what you eating off the floor. Pop, lock, do it by yourself. You know you the best, you don't need nobody else. Rock, hip, toast to success. You was born a winner, so you never nothing less. Hey, you, we up in the place. We up in the place. We up in the place. Hey, you, make your body shake. Make your body shake. Make your body shake. Hey, you, we up in the place. We up in the place. We up in the place. Hey, you, make your body shake. Make your body shake. Make your body shake. Bow, bow, rock, rock, shake, shake, wiggle, 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 wiggle. Bow, bow, rock, rock, shake, shake, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle,
¿Quieres que lo mueva para ti?
bow, bow, rock, rock, shake, shake, wiggle, wiggle,
¿Te
wiggle,
gusta
wiggle,
cuando
wiggle.
me muevo así? Así.
Bow, bow, rock, rock, shake, shake, wiggle, wiggle. When we come through, make you move just a little, clap, clap, snap. Do it from the hip. You can do this whether you stand or sit. Pump.
What's good, man?
What's happening, bro?
It feels good to see you, bro. Like it's different.
Yeah, man, it is different, bro. I ain't talk to you and your son. You know, just looking at you sometimes it's like looking at dad. You know, it has a definite, almost a spiritual thing that I can see my father in you. You know, your words, your mannerisms. You know, it's cool. It's real cool.
Yeah. So the name I named this 369, because of the significance of those numbers and like the spiritual thing, and because you told me that it's so crazy that I called you out the blue or text you out the blue, and that you talked to my son, you talked to my sister,
Yeah,
all recently.
yeah. Just
That's the
and
universe right there, huh? What
yeah,
you think about that?
yeah. It's sometimes it's like a reconciliation, like when you open to each other where you aren't always open. You know what I'm saying? As we grow up and some of the things that we perceive to be different kind of go away. And you start to understand that we're more alike than different, you know. So, and I've just grown a lot. You know, I'm older now than Dad was when he passed, which is crazy to me because it still feels like yesterday. You know.
He was way too young, and that's one of the things, I ain't gonna lie, one of the things that fuck with me, because I'm 42 now, and he passed when he was 52, and I just feel like I'm on that timeline. Like I feel like I need to get some shit done.
Yeah, I felt that way until the time passed, but I was proactive in that. I just try to take care of myself. You know, I can't let fear of the length of time that he was here affect my day-to-day decisions, which ultimately is a predictor of your time here on Earth. Now, not necessarily 100%, but it has to do with that. Dad lived a rough life. He lived a real hard life, and he wasn't afforded the opportunities and the luxuries that I have uh, to be as reflective and non-responsive or reactive. You know what I'm saying? When you don't have to react, you can make a better decision. But if something's on you, an animal, you got to react. You don't have that luxury of pondering and coming up with the best strategic situation because this thing is on you. So you have to react. And he stayed in that reactive mode, I believe, for his whole life.
It's so sad.
And so it was, but man, Dad was awesome, dude. He had his valley or valleys, but man, we had discussions when I was in middle school, 7th grade, that really shaped some of my life. Just one discussion. We were sitting around a fire, and you had to be probably about 4. But we were sitting around this fire, and we just had this long discussion. It was late, and it was awesome, and some of those topics stay with me to this day.
And it's a bunch of I have memories of a bunch of ones like that, little conversations, and I think that's kind of why I'm doing this YouTube channel. One of the things I'm good at is like talking. I really am, and I'm good at it, and and I've formulated my thoughts, so I polished them over time, and a lot of that is from him, sparking those seeds and teaching me a lot of stuff. And, and me learning a lot of stuff for myself. But I think that I gained a lot of my confidence from him because that was one of the things he did have, regardless of what was happening. Right. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, man. We were at a park. We were at a park in Houston the day he taught me how to drive a stick. And we were in a Volkswagen, a little yellow bug. I guess it was about a 72 or so. But that dude, man, he had a way with women, and he would walk into like just a group of ladies, and you could just see all this charm, all this positivity, and 2 or 3 of them would just be like all googly eyed. You'd be like, look at this dude, man. He just had this swag, He did. It was crazy.
And that's so crazy because my daughter was saying, I don't know if she said it or whatever, but like I tend to go for girls, I tend to go for chicks out of my league, I really do.
I think that's what you say, but I don't think you don't have a league, man. It's because, see, we look at the females with our eyes, but the females, they look at our soul. They look through us. So they peeping all the game. And so some of the finest ones out there that have something going, they're going to pick what would be not necessarily what you think they would pick. My little brother, Keita, my other brother, he would always say, man, you always end up with the cute one. And generally, that's just the way it went down. But I got that from my dad, man.
That's my point of that. Because I know, he had some women that was out of his league, I would say. You know what I'm saying? That you just looking at it, superficially, Yeah.
I would say my mom was that way.
I would say my mom was that way.
Yeah. And
out of his league.
And that was that wasn't good for him though. After the initial, you know what I'm saying?
You
That
think he'd learn?
no, no, boy, nah, you know. And that's one of the topics that we touched on earlier when I talked to you. So you say you think he would learn, but what if the programming was so strong that he had no choice?
It's so sad, man. It's so sad. And I think that's the plight of the black man in the United States. That's why, and the black woman too, because they call her the angry black woman, you know? And then it's like I say, you know, when basically what you were saying is, you know, when you feel like you're up against it, you're just lashing out all, you know, it's like you're drowning, right? You know, and someone comes to try to help you and you're beating them, you know, because you're drowning. You don't mean to hurt them. You just drowning and you want to
Yeah,
live and your brain's not working right and you're in like a survival mode, like you said. And you know,
yeah,
but the thing is, being prisoners of war here in the United States, we are behind enemy lines, and you know, it's like we are, you know, fighting a war that nobody else can see. And then they think that we're crazy, and we're like, man, you know, I'm just trying to survive, man. All this stuff keep coming at me, and they're like, nothing's coming at you. No, it really is. So to make you feel like you're crazy, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. But the thing about it though is in this day and age, the answers are so prevalent and so available to where if you're a truth seeker, if you're a seeker of the truth, all you have to do is keep seeking because it's available. See, like I would say the 60s and the 50s and the 40s, the truth wasn't available. It was hidden. And so the things that were passed on to some of those children of the 60s was bad programming. And so that bad programming got passed on to children in the 70s and 80s. But now with this internet and basically the intellect of all humanity being at your fingertips, you really, to a certain degree, you don't have to rely on your programming anymore. You can seek a different truth. So I would say it was about 5 years ago. And something hit me that said, if I would have been born the same Jeff Perkins to Bill Gates, if I would have been born to Warren Buffett, what literally would be the difference other than the color of my skin? The difference would be the conversations, some of the DNA memory, some of the programming. That would be the massive difference. And so what I did, I started on YouTube. And all I listened to for almost a year was this dude named Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. I said, if I came home every day, if I was born to this cat, I would come home to his conversations. I would come home to his teaching. I would come home to his belief system. And so then if I lost all of my money because I was taught by this dude, it would be only a matter of time before I was back on top. That shit worked wonders, dude. This shit is unbelievable.
I used to listen to Warren Buffett a lot. I think he's an intelligent guy. I do listen to him.
Yeah.
But I think what you're pointing to is the problem in the black household is that we don't have these conversations and we don't set up systems, to build, as a community. We don't teach our children that marriage is a business, that you can't go into marriage without thinking about money. You can't leave that out. That's important aspect. This your future. So these are the conversations, and so we're not having these conversations with our children. That's one of the things
But
that's
see,
different.
but that's what I'm saying on an individual level. From a leadership position if you were a community leader, then that would be one conversation. But from a individual household, you got to start having those conversations. And so my oldest two children grew up with that conversation all the time, because I was diligently trying to reprogram myself since I was about 30. And so their lives literally look foreign to me. That's how far they've gone at such a young age. Their lives it's almost foreign to me. And so at this point, they're teaching me quite a bit. They still call me and give my opinion on things, but a lot of times I'm worried about the step that they about to take. But then I look at the step and I'm like, man, okay, that went quite well. I need to figure out. So I would call them and they teach me something. So the whole thing of this life that we live in right now is that your life can change on a video. Like somebody else's video, you watch this video and your whole life can change. Like this dude I watched, I don't know if you ever heard it. It's the Credit Plug. He's a credit guru, black dude. Man,
I need to get my credit together.
dude,
So
it's a company called Crown Credit Pro. Cost you $2,000, but in 90 days went from 600 to 750. And I bought up the world.
Yeah,
I
need to know more about that. So you can text that to me.
Yeah.
All that
what I'm
information.
saying is these tools that were hidden from all of the black community. Don't go in this door, go in that door. And we just all go in that door. But they didn't want to show us these things. How many times someone is filing bankruptcy, or the fact that they got business credit and all this stuff in their house, they got with their business credit. They didn't even get it. And if they don't pay the bill, it don't even go in their regular credit. They just close the corporation. But all that information is available now. So like I say, this internet thing, man, and Dad was always cutting edge. Like, I remember he would have computers, before anybody else had a computer, and he was welcoming to
change, innovation.
Change. Yeah, he was very welcoming to that. So, but yeah, man, it's sometimes I feel now that we ignore our spirit, especially as black men, because we know the difference between right and wrong. It's real basic. But what we don't know is the best choice. We know we done fucked up. We know we did something wrong. But we don't necessarily have at our disposal the answers. So, because your uncle did certain things, because your dad did certain things, because this, that, and the other, it's wrong. It's not going to profit you anything. But you don't necessarily know the inverse or the opposite. You don't really know what those steps are that will free you. So you got to be what I call a truth seeker. If you seeking the truth and you just not reacting, and if you're not logical enough to look at the manifestation of your uncle's life or your father's life or your mother's life and have enough sense to understand that their philosophy is not profiting them anything. So you got to go and find something different. I got a saying: despise the teaching, love the teacher. Absolutely. And I tell everybody I can this: if I could find a stronger word than despise, I will. Because the teaching is a direct line from slavery. It's a direct line. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law can show me the house, whereas they were sharecroppers, and they can show me the house where these white folks cheated them all the time, and they had to put all the cotton in the front yard. This house is still right there. Same people own the house, and this is firsthand information.
Yeah, I need to hear more about that kind of stuff, because that's kind of what I'm studying with anthropology. I'm trying to tie the Caribbean to the South United States. I mean, it's easily to tie it, but I wanted to write a book about how similar we really are, and also how these things lead right up until today. Yeah, so I want to illustrate how it's connected and how it's also lands to today, literally. Yeah,
from the Caribbean.
Yeah, like Haiti, Jamaica. That's what I study.
But see, those folks, I don't know, they didn't come this way. This is what
I want people to try to understand better, is that the movement of people wasn't completely regulated by them white folks and they freaking ships. No. We like to give them way too much fucking power, bro. People was moving back and forth between Haiti and Louisiana, between, you name it. Those islands are right off the coast. Cuba is right off the coast of Florida.
Right.
Come on, man. You think a nigga can't row a boat?
But see, those two states have a very different history than the other states. So if you study Louisiana, which was French, and then Florida, which was, I believe, Spain, those were places for a while we were able to run to. So we have a much direct line from like South Carolina to Sierra Leone. There's a direct line for a lot of slavery.
Yeah, well,
but there were movements in those Caribbean islands that they were trying to keep us from knowing anything about.
Like the Haitian Revolution. They were so worried about, after the Haitian Revolution happened, they were so worried about, that's the reason why over here the laws started changing, and they really started putting more pressure on their slaves, because they was worried about slave revolts.
Yeah, and we had some. That's another thing that's somewhat
like hidden. Yeah, they don't show that much. They don't talk about that much in history, because they want to say the slaves were passive and they were accepting of it and they didn't fight back and all this bullshit.
Right. Yeah. And that goes into another thing that again, that programming, when I say despise the teachings and love the teacher, is that directly from that we're taught not to stand up, not to be too strong. And that's a double-edged sword.
And that's a thing that's coming from the household too, like the black mom. And I might play a little bit of a video right now, since we're talking about this, because emasculating the black man, mostly it nowadays is done by the black mom. And a lot of it is for his protection. She's not trying to emasculate him necessarily to emasculate him just for the sake of it, but she's afraid. She wants to protect her son, so she feels like if her son keeps his head down, not make too much noise, then maybe he can make it. But if he runs around and being masculine, and be trying to be a leader and trying to be a creator in the community, then she's afraid his head's gonna get shot off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the thing that again is she's coming from a wounded place. She's coming from the best knowledge that she was given by her mother or by her father and then by grandparents. So, and it's almost in the blood. I was this when I studied Black Studies, John Hope Franklin's book, I think it's called From Slavery to Freedom. It's the standard book that's given. He was a professor at Duke. He was actually related to me somehow on my mom's side, but I didn't know this when I was reading the book. But he talks about how they would put all the pregnant women in a circle and have a horse kick the pregnant woman in the middle so that they could instill fear through the mother into the fetus. So they had all the pregnant women.
That's deep.
Circle. And so they would actually kill the baby. It was gruesome. But that fear was then translated through the blood
to all the other pregnant moms and to their kids.
Fear is still running through the veins of a lot of people.
And because see, earlier you sounded like you were saying, that we should move on, that we have all the tools that we need now, like talking about Black people, and we should just listen to Warren Buffett or whatever and teach our children different. But at the same time, you're also saying that, we have these trauma in our blood that's, affecting us in ways that can hamper our ability to,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you can't be a victim to that. So at some point, you either keep reacting and allow that biological situation, that biological fear to keep generationally hampering us. Or you can literally figure out some way to undo it. And there's information on the internet to show you how to undo that wrong programming. I used to tell my kids this, my young kids. If you lived in a village that was somehow separated from society, from the greater society, it was woods of Borneo or something, just out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And everybody crawled on their hands and knees. And so when you got old enough to stand up, you got whacked. So you started crawling around on your hands and knees. Then you stand up again because you're a kid, you're a baby. You got whacked again. So by the time you were 6, 7 years old, your legs didn't even work anymore. Knees were strong. They wouldn't even unbend. And you crawled around like everybody else in the village. But the programming was totally wrong. There was no rightness to the program. It's just what her parents taught her, and then what your environment shows you to be correct. But you're wrong. And this is the Black community. And so we, again, this luxury we have now that we can travel the world without ever leaving home. We can experience all kind of different things so that we can figure out, we can peer into someone else's society and say, this shit ain't right. You got a church on every corner. Every corner got a church. And around that corner, somebody done been killed by a black person. Black person killed another black person on the same corner, all through this United States. At some point, we got to stop allowing the horse that kicked the woman 400 years ago to make us do dumb shit. That's a hard truth. But I believe that, like this forum that you dealing with, and again, there's some great stuff on the internet, man. You know, before you had to be a studious, wanting to dive deep into a book and read for hours. You know, I'm not a reader, but I love watching videos.
Yeah, and that's what I tell everybody. You could just watch some YouTube videos if you don't want to read, because they have audio books of almost everything too.
Yeah, you know, it's unbelievably. It really is a double-edged sword in that you ain't got no more excuse. Because this is what Charlie Munger taught me. That most human beings do not use evidentiary type logic for decision making. So you don't look at the evidence. So you do something stupid and it screws you up. 6 months later, you don't look back at the evidence of what your decision was to change and make a different decision. You just make the same decision over and over again because of that horse that kicked the lady 300 years ago. And that's sad, but it worked. You know, if you there was I know you know about the Willie Lynch letter.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
The Willie Lynch.
Yeah.
There was a.
I know the Willie.
Basically a doctrine that was passed from slave owner to slave owner. And so there was, what did you do with a slave that did this? Say a slave ran away, male slave, cut off one foot. If you ran away again, you cut off the other foot. That's what you did to them. If a slave stole something, you do this. If a slave talked to you this way, you would do this in front of all the other slaves so they wouldn't know. All these different fear tactics. But they passed around a little statue. I want to say it was a statue of David, where the little statue had his eyes closed and he had his elbow on his knee and he was pondering. He said, in that letter, if you ever see one of your slaves doing this, the only answer is to kill him. Kill him. If you ever see one thinking, pondering, using his mind, kill him. That was like the user manual for slaves. And so you think of all of our thought leaders over the years were killed. But it still didn't work. Because we still the most powerful beings on the face of the earth. The black man.
And some of that might be as a result of all of this pressure. You know what they say, pressure make diamonds.
I think it's cosmic. That's what Daddy told me. Daddy told me that they weren't fully humans. He told me that around that fire back in 1970. I think it was 79, 80. But what I'm saying is, you look all around the world, man. The power and influence of hip hop. You know, I grew up with, you know, in the 80s, 83, you know, Sugar Hill Gang and African Bambaataa, and, you know, that was the beginning of this thing, right? You know, it goes back a little further, but the actual industry and the commercialization of it started in like 82, 83. But the influence that has had on the whole world, dude, is like the Harlem Renaissance. It's unbelievable. All over this country. I was watching the Olympics, and they were skateboarding on the Olympics, and all had a hip hop vibe. People from all over the world. You ask who's Michael Jordan all over the world.
There ain't no doubt that we great and we creative, man. I just feel like, you know, we need to get our shit together as a community. Because that individual success is cool, but it's a lot of us still suffering, you know. What I like to say is the lottery, you know. Making it to the NBA is winning the lottery. Making it to the NFL is winning the lottery, man. I know it takes hard work and dedication. Do not get me wrong. What I'm saying is that next guy may have put in just as much or more, and he don't make it just because it's the lottery. You know what I'm saying? He went to the wrong school, you know, whatever was the situation was, and he didn't make it. You know, so you can't live your life trying to win the lottery and trying to win as an individual, because that's how we all lose. They got everybody striving to win the lottery, and only a few people win, and that way everyone loses. If we came at this in a different way as a community and was trying to build each other up, you know, we all can't play in NFL. We all can't play in NBA. We all can't do that. But there's plenty of other things that we can do. We need all different types of people in our community to do different stuff. And what I always say is that in the future, I think it's going to have to be, everything's going to be local. This global thing is what's kind of destroying the planet, is what I think. And so what I mean by that is, you know, you buy your food locally, you buy your shoes, your clothes locally. You know what I'm saying? But that means you have to have local manufacturers. But that's cool. Tebow, I know somebody, I got a cousin that knows how to design shoes. Like, but he ain't never went with it, you know? And that's what I mean. Like, if we had some kind of system set up in the community, where was this kid who knew how to freaking make shoes? We put the money behind this kid and help him make the freaking shoes. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And we keep this in the community because the business makes money. We use that money to fuel other things. We still gonna take care of that kid who came up with the shoe, but you know how a major company is just gonna take that idea and then they're gonna pay that one kid and then they're gonna make money off of it forever. But what I'm saying is that kid wouldn't have been able to make the shoe without our help with the community. So then therefore the proceeds for that shoe or a portion of it should go back to the community. You get what I'm saying? And that you have somebody who makes this, somebody who makes that. You know, the people who watch your kids, daycare. Why do we pay so much for freaking daycare? Why? Because we're going at this as an individual and we letting these corporations handle this shit for us. That wasn't how it was done historically. We shouldn't be paying all this fucking money for daycare, right? The community can handle that. We can watch our kids as a community. Somebody is at home in the same damn apartment complex that you live in all damn day, and it's Miss Sally, and she probably cool people, and she could watch your kid. But we don't have no system set up for people to be comfortable doing things like that, because living here in America, they crush anything like that because they want everything to be about profit. As long as you come up with a business that's profit oriented and it's all about you and the individual, then that's cool. But as soon as you start making a community co-op work type thing, they're going to try to crush that. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. But see, this is the hard truth about it all. This is the really hard truth. Is all they got to do if it starts working, is plant just a little bit of doubt, and there's gonna be one nigga in the bush that's gonna fuck it all up. And I say that because, and I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, but it can't be.
That's that crabs in the bucket attitude, man. And I think that's what's holding a lot of us back from trying to build. Go ahead.
This guy named Jay Morrison. So
that sounds like an author's name.
Jay Morrison is a real estate investor guy, and he's got this thing called the Tulsa Project, I believe. And so it was a way that, as a community, we could invest in real estate. So he had this. It's a big thing. It still is. But what they started doing, and when I say they, I mean his enemies, whether they're white or black, I don't know. They started putting out lawsuits, phony complaints. It was a concerted effort to destroy this dude. It didn't work, but it was. And so what I'm saying is they revert back to that programming. They revert back to, I already know there's a bunch of fear in these people. All I got to do is place a little fear, and they're gonna not trust each other.
And I agree with you.
So
but
what I'm saying
we have to
is
push against that.
The answer is that we got to teach each other how to reprogram our own thought process. Because if not, the minute you get into the thick of things, you're going to revert back to that programming.
And I completely agree with you on that.
The minute something jump up, oh, that check didn't clear. Oh, Chaka driving a Cadillac now. Oh, he done bought him a new house. Then
I agree.
You go right back to that programming. Then you mess around and the whole group that you done helped is ready to string you up. Not because you didn't did anything wrong, not because they don't like you, because they're scared.
Right, they scared.
It's running through their veins.
And I agree, because what I say in my videos all the time is, as the Black community, we have to focus on decolonizing. You know what I'm saying? We've been colonized and we've been brainwashed. And a lot of people like to say, no, I haven't been brainwashed. Ain't nobody brainwashed me, and colonization was 400 years ago or whatever. But I'm like, no, all that stuff is still there. So you have to actually, first off, you have to admit that you have been colonized. You have been brainwashed. And now you got to meticulously go through it and deconstruct that stuff. And it's a hard job. It's a hard, long job.
That's what some of these murders are about. Is to reinstill fear.
Let me play something.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna play a video about worker co-ops. I got 2 videos like this. I don't know if I'm gonna play all of it. None of this stuff is more than 8 minutes.
Okay,
check it out.
But there's one notable exception, the Evergreen Cooperatives in Cleveland, Ohio. Their first co-op, the Evergreen Cooperative Laundry, was launched in 2009 with 8 employees. Startup capital was provided by the City of Cleveland and the Cleveland Foundation, which provided $3 million to start a revolving loan fund to launch local co-ops. Local anchor institutions also invested in supporting the co-ops, and perhaps most importantly, agreed to shift some of the $3 billion they spent annually on goods and services to local worker-owned businesses.
They're already spending literally billions of dollars a year on goods and services. And so the catalyst for this was If we could just shift a little bit of those dollars that, again, they're already going to be spent on goods and services, if we could put a business plan together to launch some new companies that would enable them to spend more of that money locally, they were willing to do that, and they committed to do that.
This became known as the Cleveland model. It wasn't successful overnight.
There were lean years, very lean years, where we didn't think we were going to make it. And that changed up the dynamics of how we did things.
As the laundry expanded, they moved away from direct worker control.
We took away some of the day-to-day decisions and put it in the management team's hands at that point. Because when you get 50 people in there arguing over whether or not we should buy napkins or not is not the way to go about it.
Just like at other co-ops, working at the laundry is a lot more than a 9-to-5.
Here, we work till we're finished, till the job's done. Yeah, and if you're done with your area, you're going over here to help this area, and you're going over here to help that area, and everybody works until we're done. So that does cause a little bit more differences.
By 2021, the laundry had grown to 150 employees. More than half are worker owners. The laundry starting wage is $12 an hour, but the typical worker makes $14.75, and with annual profit sharing, makes the equivalent of $20 an hour. Their success has even allowed them to take on international competitors.
I'm going to tell you right now, not only have we competed with the big boys in laundry, we've beaten them. Okay? This plant right here used to be run by Sodexo, which is one of the biggest, laundry businesses and thing. They tossed them out of here for us because our quality was better, and they knew our job was better, and they had given us a little work here and there, and they had seen just the difference in quality between us and them. And we were doing the job just as fast, and we were doing the job cheaper.
Just like at other co-ops, when the pandemic hit, the laundry quickly put safety measures in place so they could protect worker safety and continue to operate.
If you look at our records, we grow just as much money during the pandemic than we did the year before. During the pandemic, we was able to get raises. We was able to get profit sharing 3 times, and that's during a pandemic.
Today, Evergreen employs 260 employees in a diverse array of co-ops, and in 2018, they pivoted to acquisitions. In October 2020, Evergreen helped convert Phoenix Coffee, a 3 decades old coffee shop chain with 5 stores and a roaster, to employee ownership. When the pandemic hit, Phoenix had shifted to a to-go model and also implemented safety measures. But workers still risked their lives to keep their doors open.
And they put their own bodies on the line to ensure the success of this business. Now they get to see some upside and some reward from that, because at the end of the year, rather than paying whatever the profits are as a distribution to our owner, it's shared equally among all of the members.
Kristen Logan.
What'd you think about that?
I mean, that's cool for some people, but I just feel like that's the wrong game. When I say that, I mean, as leaders, we got to create companies that end up helping other companies come out of those companies. So what I'm saying is we got to get out of the thought process of being employed. That's a losing game. So I'm doing this thing right now with these cars, right? It's called Turo. You ever heard of it? Where you rent the cars. So I got 4 cars now. And so when I had 1 car, I doubled my income with another car, right? At what job can you double your income? What do you do to double? Okay, so I tripled my income with the 3rd car. What do you do at a job to make 3 times as much money? So my goal is to get to 10 cars. So how do you 10 times your income at a job? You cannot.
And
so
I agree with you.
What I'm saying is, we really, again, I keep going back to that programming. It's so freaking deep. Like even now, I quit my job. I was working at CarMax. I quit because I had a plan. Put the plan in place, and it's been working so far. But even when I drive past a place that says we're hiring, it catches my eye because the programming is to have a job.
I get it, but look, this is what I want you. This is what I want you to try to understand. I completely agree with you, and for me, everything I do is trying to business. I just finished my real estate classes, and I can get my life. I can go take the test and do my license like next week or something. That's probably what's going to happen. But anyways, but running a business, opening a company, being creative, being a boss, managing income, managing economics, that's not for everyone,
No, I
right?
know.
It's not
Yeah.
for everyone.
No.
Some people just want to go to work and get a fair wage, and that's okay for them. You can't say that everyone needs to be should be opening a business because it's not for everyone. They not willing to do that or whatever. It's not for them.
But
some
that's
people
not
want
what
to just work a job, but you can work a job and still be a part owner with a business like this, is what I'm saying. So that you're sharing in the income instead of that income just going to a major corporation and the motherfuckers just treating you however and getting you fired. Them people, how hard do you think it is for them to fire one of them?
It's almost impossible.
I mean, I'm sure it is, but what I'm saying is it's not going to be as easy as these corporations, Walmart or whatever, here in Texas. Go home. They don't even have to give you, it's a right to work state. They don't even have to give you a reason.
Yeah, North Carolina is the same way. And I understand that conversation. I'm just saying, for me, that's not the conversation. You see what I'm saying? Because for me, you still, even if you part owner like that, they went from making $12 to making $20. For me, still in the wrong game.
It's not enough money. I know. I agree. But like I say,
but it's not enough money, but it's not enough freedom either. It's like I said,
it's not for everybody. I was watching a video and a dude was telling me that he said freedom ain't free. You got to pay for it. Some people not willing to pay.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying as far as the understanding of where the source is. That, see, when you go to a job, you got faith in that job. You're going to get in 2 weeks before they give you any money. So you got to have a certain amount of faith. So what I'm saying is, we don't understand that the source of the whole creation is actually in us. We don't understand the power that it is in us, because we've been in the village with these callous knees and these callous hands, and what we trying to do is do that better. You see what I'm saying? We're trying to learn how to crawl better. And
instead of standing up and running or even flying.
Yeah, or flying, exactly. Fuck that. Excuse my French, but fuck crawling better. You got to despise that teaching. Your mother taught you that, and she was fucking wrong. Again, excuse my French. Just wrong, because this is, I mean, how many times, and I'm not talking about anybody's particular mother.
Right. I know. And what I always say, I say Big Mama drove us into a ditch. That's how I say it.
And you know how happy do people get when you done got you a job? Oh, baby, you done got you a good job. That shit get on my damn nerves.
I agree.
It's on my nerves. It
I
makes me
agree.
angry.
I agree.
Oh,
Because
it's almost like master done really helped you out, boy. You
yeah.
can you done got inside the house.
And then when you post that on Instagram or Facebook or
Oh
whatever, you get a
Lord.
whole bunch of likes. If you say I started my business, a few people gonna be like, "Good job" or whatever. Go ahead. But if you say I got a job at Apple, you're gonna get 2,000 likes.
Yeah. And that go ahead, that's good, bro. What that really is, nigga, you ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
I mean, in their posture or in their actual tone,
Right, I
ain't no
get it. They're like, oh, he think he could really just,
yeah,
oh, he's so cute. He think he go, he better just go on and go work at the post office. That's what he needs. Go on and try, baby. You could, you might make it.
and in that is all that programming. All that programming. I got an aunt, bro. She owned a whole damn charter school. And when she was going through the whole process, right? And I don't mean no little charter school. It's in Southern California. There is a waiting list every year to get in this charter school. It's one of the best charter schools in Southern California. But while she was doing all of her schooling and everything to prepare for the school, right? Everybody was like, what is she doing? What is she doing? Now it's popping off. It's been 10 years or so. I don't know. I think they graduated. It may have been 12 years. They may have graduated they first. But I'm saying she has so much vision and didn't need nobody else's accolades or pat on the back. But in some ways she wasn't getting it. We was all hoping for the best. But again, how many of us got a whole damn school? We don't know nothing about that. We know to go to school, but we didn't know you could have the whole damn school and be yours. We don't have that programming. Like let somebody say to you, I'm gonna start a hospital. You look at them like, you gonna start a whole damn hospital, baby? Because we don't know nothing about that. But a whole bunch of hospitals were started by just one person.
They're all private. Almost all of them are privately owned.
And so what I'm saying is, where we coming from is so injured that we got to understand, we got to go get answers. And the worst thing you can do is really ask one of us. It's really bad, but that's the truth. You got to find them the real deal answers that don't have a color to them, that don't have a gender to them, that don't have even history to them. They just the raw truth and the right next step. That's like how many Black people don't like Oprah Winfrey? There's a lot. This woman has achieved from Mississippi. She come from the most poor part of Mississippi. And she done sat at the table of all the kings and queens, but a lot of Black people don't like her.
I have my reservations with her. My thing, I mean, like I say, that's again, Oprah is winning the lottery, man. Token Negro possibly even. So. But listen to me, no, she grind. Don't get me wrong, she grind. Yeah. She made what she did what she did. It took her a long time. But she also did a lot of bashing of the Black man throughout her career. She also did a lot of cozying up to white women during her career. That the whole feminist, she was the feminist movement. She was Me Too before Me Too was Me Too.
But what I'm saying is this: if she goes from making $20 an hour to being a billionaire, logically you got to say there had to be, because money and power is just a manifestation of your philosophy. That's all it is. It's not literally anything unto itself, the money and the power. It's a manifestation of doing the right shit.
I agree.
So
I agree, but look, let me push back. Let me push back on that a little bit, because again, I think that money and power is not for everyone. Not everyone has, that's not necessarily colonization. What I'm saying is not everybody wants to be rich. Not everybody wants to be powerful. You know what I'm saying? Some people just want to go fishing on the weekends.
See, this is what I say. There's not a tree on this earth that don't want to grow. And if you've been programmed so much that you don't want to grow like a tree, then that's the problem.
But you're relating growth and making money, and that's what the problem is with the economic system that we live under. It's exponential growth and making money. That's two different things. Growth is growth. Making money is making money. We can't mix those two up.
But what I'm saying is you can't necessarily separate the two. Not in this society. This is the game that we playing. This is where we live. Now, if we lived in the Serengeti over there in Africa somewhere, then it was cows, or it was land, or it was something else. But that's what the freedom gave you. That's what I'm saying. A tree is gonna make leaves, and so I'm not saying I am not a money like is the end of the world. That's not who I am. What I'm saying is you can take, okay, if you got $5,000 in your bank account, do you know that you are probably in the top 20% of the United States? That's not having is a manifestation of your own ill. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying you got to have millions, but if you work for 50 years and you ain't got $20,000, then you eating and doing the wrong things, and everything you do is destructive, because that's why you don't have anything. If you just buy one car and keep it clean, you clean it up, change the oil, you take care of that car, this is one reason why, to me, people from Asia, you ever bought a car from Asian? Them people take care of their stuff like you would not believe. So what I'm saying is, when you take care of something, then you ain't got to buy it again. So then you start building up some wealth. And that's a manifestation of your health on the inside of you. So that's what I'm saying, is that the programming, the ills of us. My son, one of my sons, my youngest, we can go to the store, now this is how bad the programming really is, bro. We can go to the gas station and stop to get gas. And I asked my youngest son, you want anything? He said, no, I'm good. You know how many times anybody asks me at the store, do I want something? I'm going to say no? Never. Because I got some ill inside of me. You going to give me something? I got to go in there and get it. I'm not hungry. I'm not thirsty. But you ask me, so I'm going to say, yeah. This dude will sit there, man, and it trips me out every time he does it, because I never hit him. See, I didn't hit him. So he don't have these weird little trauma on the inside. And that's what I'm saying. The money and the well-being, even if it's last year you had $500 in the bank. You worked all year. This year you got $1,000 in the bank. If you save $500 every year for 20 years, you got some money. But how many people work for 20 years and still ain't got a nickel?
And every week,
because of that trauma. That's because of that programming.
And every week they spending their money on lottery tickets too.
They have to. Even if they won the lottery, they still would go broke. That's because of that program. That's because of that trauma. And so what I'm saying is, we got to get away from just struggling. Struggling. There's no nothing good about struggle.
I
There's
agree.
nothing good about poverty. There's nothing good about let's what is the saying? Keep it 100. Your ass broke. You ain't got 100.
And what do they say? They say the struggle is real.
No. No. No.
That
I know a guy, bro. He worked at McDonald's until he retired. This dude retired. He was an Asian cat. This dude retired, and he had $250,000 in the bank. And he worked at nowhere but McDonald's his whole life. His house was paid for. He sent his kids to college. And he had the same car he didn't have for 30 years. So what I'm saying is, stop crawling. We literally, that analogy for me, everybody around us, so much of what we see is ass backwards.
And that's why I'm doing this channel, man. And you know, mostly I agree with you. It's just I have to push back just to have some kind of conversation with her. We were just sitting here saying, yeah. And you know, I don't know if you know, but I always play devil's advocate. So if someone is not, you know, if a certain idea is not being represented enough in the conversation, I'm always going to jump and defend that idea. It doesn't have nothing to do with where I stand on it.
And see, W.E.B. Du Bois, who was barely black, right? But they tout him as like some black leader. But the dude looked mostly white to me. But anyway, he was a philosopher, and you know, he said every community, 10% of the community takes care of the other 90%. But if you go back to the Willie Lynch letter, and those 10%ers got killed. Them people that's supposed to
in our community.
Yeah, they got killed.
So we was left with the crabs in the bucket.
We was left with the followers. We were left with people that were scared. Just like if you work a job, the top manager that been there for a long time, he's just somebody that stayed out of trouble. He really not that good at what he do. He just stayed out of trouble. So that's what we left with. People that stayed out of trouble.
Yeah, okay, boss. Whatever you want.
Whatever you want me to do, bro. I do it.
Let's change the topic a little bit so we can go to, because we had an hour. So let's switch topics. We talked a little bit about masculinity, black men in the community. I'm gonna play a little bit of this video right here, and I want you to tell me what you think.
All right.
It's gonna be kind of heavy.
I do see that this is a time where males need guidance, and like where there isn't the kind of elders, customs, initiations, routes to masculinity are in short supply. I can see that there's a real value in that. But I also feel that in this time of social contention, identity politics being part of it, and conflict, that ideas that promote unity and the immolation of those kind of boundaries, it feels to me would be particularly and especially valuable. Do you know?
Well, again, but I think the right way to do that is to concentrate on the individual. And so let me answer that in two ways. The first issue is that it isn't self-evident that the reason that what I've been talking about has been attractive to young men, that might be like a fluke. And it might be a fluke because almost everybody who watches YouTube is male.
Yeah.
So like, if I look at my YouTube audience, it's 80% male. But that's true of YouTube audiences in general.
So it's just a typical YouTube audience.
Right. And so what's happening?
Is that your intuition?
Well,
because I feel that there is something about maleness.
I think it's more complicated than that. But I do know that since my book has come out, I've been watching the demographics of my public audience, that more and more women are coming out. So it's now to about 65-35 from 80-20. And more older people are coming out too. So I think a fair bit of it was a consequence of the fact that most of my exposure was to the YouTube audience, which happens to be mostly men. Now, I do also think that there is a particular crisis with regards to what might be described as proper pathways to masculinity. I also think that's at play. So I think there's two factors. But I don't think, and Kathy Newman kind of went after me about this, she said, well, if you're directing your message towards young men, which I wasn't, but assuming that's the case, isn't that divisive? And I would say, well, I don't think it is divisive, because first of all, the masculine in women also needs to be developed. It's very, very important. And the people who are the enemies of the masculine in men are also the enemies of the masculine in women. So if you overprotect your sons, let's say, you overprotect them in part and weaken them because you're afraid of their masculine energy, you're going to do exactly the same thing to your daughters. So
that a female child would similarly be disempowered.
Oh, definitely, because the thing is, and this is another thing, is that I am a psychometrician. That's technically my job, and we study the measurement. Well, and it's a truism of psychometrics that men and women are more the same than they are different. It's funny because I've been sort of positioned as someone who is constantly on about the differences between men and women. But men and women are more the same than they are different. And what that means is that the development of masculinity in women, perhaps it's not as important as the development of masculinity in men, but it's damn important. It's a close second. And so if people are pushing down masculinity as a virtuous mode of being, then it has a detrimental effect on both sexes.
Everybody, I agree with this. But you would say that determinally and biologically that there is a thing that is masculinity, and that thing, masculinity, is present in both females and males.
Definitely.
But I think again one of the challenges that this argument it appears to be built around is a sort of hierarchy around those traits. Masculinity being synonymous, for example, with power. Oh, here's the thing I wanted to bloody ask you. Check this out, because I said it on a YouTube video on my own the other day, and I thought, wonder if this stands up to scrutiny. I goes, I feel the use of the female in advertising and commodification in general is the perverted desire to worship the feminine. The negated and neglected feminine has found its expression through consumerism and commerce because it is not being properly honoured socially. What do you reckon? I made it up.
I would have to think that. I'd have to think about that a long time. I would have to think about that a long time.
It's a good idea, though, isn't it?
It's an idea worth thinking about for a while.
Like if we have essential yearnings, if we have e.g. if in indigenous cultures we would have deities to represent gender or certain energies that are subtler than gender. If there is a sense that socially those energies are not being expressed or honoured, as you have implied with male pathways.
That's definitely the case. So one of the things that I've often thought about ideologies is that they're like parasites on religious structures. And if you're thinking that the movement of feminine imagery up into the consumerist world is an analog, or is at least in part a consequence of not having a symbolic place where that attraction can be expressed, I think that's probably right. It's like in the United States, is the first family tends to be turned into king and queen.
Yeah.
Because there's no place for that symbolic projection.
Yeah, the template requires it.
Yeah.
And I heard once an analysis of the Soviet Union after the revolution that it mimicked the monarchic tyranny that preceded it, just in a different format.
Right.
And it seemed, that sort of certain
energies. They had their Holy Trinity even, right?
Yes.
Mao, Marx, Lenin.
Amazing.
Or Mao, Marx, Stalin, depending on the Trinity.
But... And some would argue that that Christianity couldn't take hold in Latin America until they embraced the pantheism of the saints and the figure of the Virgin, until that in certain cultures the Virgin had to be elevated because there isn't a place in the Father, Son, Holy Ghost for the divine feminine.
Yeah, that's a Jungian idea, definitely.
Yeah, is it?
Definitely. That's an original idea of Jung's, is that
cool.
the Trinity is missing a quartile, and sometimes that quartile is filled by the figure of the devil, and sometimes it's filled by the figure of the woman. So it's like the houses in Harry Potter, right? There's 3 good houses in Slytherin. It's in the bottom quadrant. It's a reflection of the same kind of Mandela structure.
That's pretty cool.
So it's very cool.
You
Yes,
have to
it's very cool.
have a place at the table for the serpent. You have to have a place. What
That's
about?
what happens in Sleeping Beauty, right? In the Disney movie.
They don't let in that
They don't
crone.
That's right. They don't invite her to the christening, and so their daughter ends up unconscious. Right? They don't let the terrible mother come to the party, so the daughter ends up unconscious.
In our domestic, normal, everyday, quotidian lives, what is the terrible mother? How does that help us?
Overprotection.
Don't overprotect the baby. Let it fall over a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. You do the least amount possible for your children. It's something like that. That's not neglect. It's nothing like that. It's like the old age home adage. You know, look, I've seen this lots of times with parents. It's like maybe you have to get your kid dressed up to go out. Well, it takes a long time if you let your kid do it. You know, it's a lot faster just to do it. It's a lot faster not to have them set the table. It's a lot faster to do things for them. Plus, there's also, and this is part of the devouring mother archetype, is like, if you've devoted your life to a child, perhaps more than you should have, let's say, then it's very difficult to let the child go, because like what's there left for you? And so there's this terrible temptation to play, well, I'll do everything for you, but you never leave me. And then for the child to say, yeah, that's right, that's exactly the right face to make for that. That's a very terrible thing. And you see that again in Disney's Sleeping Beauty, where Maleficent has the heroic prince in the dungeon and is laughing at him. Right? She's not going to let him go until he's ancient. And that's a consequence.
Where else do we see the devouring mother? What are some good pop cultural examples of the devouring mother?
Oh, you see it in Disney movies all the time.
They've always got one.
In the Little Mermaid, Ursula is the devouring mother. The devouring mother shows up all the time. She's the witch. She's the swamp dweller. She's the evil queen in Snow White.
What's the counterpoint? The fairy godmother?
Yeah, fairy godmother's one. Yeah, that's the positive feminine. And that happened, that archetype manifests itself all over the place as well. The fairy godmother's a good one. And you see in Sleeping Beauty, there's 3 of them, the 3 little fairies that take care of the princess in the forest. They're the archetype of the positive feminine.
What'd you think about all that? I know it was a lot. Like, you know, one thing I think a lot of people get lost on is that masculine and feminine isn't assigned to a gender. It's men and women have different degrees of masculinity and femininity. And I also think that that's one of the things that get lost when we talk about LGBTQ and all of that stuff. And then, you know, this is so heavy because having to do with the devouring mother, he was saying, and that's what we're talking about with the black mother in the black household, and, you know, emasculating her son and so forth and so on. What do you think about all that? Some of the stuff they said in the video or whatever. What's your analysis?
This is my thing. You got Batman and Superman sitting here pontificating, right? And because of the imagery, they feel that they have the right to be authoritative about this subject. But all I saw was 2 cartoon characters. Because if you really get down to it, females are stronger than males. When you had your baby, how long could you hold that baby in one of your arms? Like just one arm. The woman can hold that baby all damn day. You got the baby for about 45 minutes and the arm about to fall off.
Yeah.
They say if a man had to give birth, there would be more people. So these are the same people. These 2 white men, right? They're the Hitlers of the world. They're the people that lynched women with the scarlet letter A. What I'm saying is, if you want to get down to the truth, them is the last 2 people I want to listen to.
Because they're white?
No, because they're white males.
Okay.
They have a certain bullshit authority about any freaking subject. and that shit gets on my nerves. Even
Yeah.
if you can be talking to a woman with a PhD and a man, the white man that don't even have no education on the same subject will call the woman gal. Well, hold on, gal, young lady, as if he has some authority. And so when you get down to the conversation, it really is about power. You don't want to make your children, male or female, any less powerful because they were in your care. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to empower your girl to have babies and empower your male to go out and get a job and be unresponsive emotionally. There's no power in either one of those teachings. So what you want to do is help the child, male or female, be as powerful in this game of life as they possibly can be. It has nothing to do with a masculine trait or a feminine trait. See, I think the reason why we got so many people that have identity crisis as far as their gender identity is because there's a whole bunch of chemicals going around in the food and whatnot, like soy and whatnot, that changes a lot of biological situations in a young man early and a young woman early. So those are some of the biological issues. But I don't care if you're gay or you're not gay. Be powerful. Clean up your yard. Take care of your shit. Don't beat your children. You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't create some kid that's gonna shoot my wife. Don't create this. Don't make a environment where this person can't be themselves so that they're happy. You see what I'm saying? So if I have a child that's gay, I'm gonna let him know I'm not happy with this, but this is not my life. If you gay and that's what you choose, this is your life. I hope it brings you profitability, but it more likely won't because there's no profit in you can't have babies. Ain't no profit in it. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying don't create a situation where this person that has identity crisis or even was born biologically one way and has the parts of another way, and now he wants to be a mass murderer because you didn't beat him to try to make him be the way you think he should be. Just don't do that.
My issue with that, I got a few issues with that, but one of them is that I think that the way you're looking at this is through a lens of an individual, you know, and instead of the community. So as a community, how do we deal with that? Because you're saying like if someone has identity issues or whatever issues that they have, and then they come along and hurt your child. So, but you can't do anything about that from an individual perspective. All you can do is try to tell the parents to do better with their children, you know? So how do you come at that as a community?
But that's what I'm saying. As a community, as an overriding philosophy, you want to create healthy environments for these children so that they are powerful in the sense that they don't need to hurt somebody else or judge someone else.
And I agree with you. But what you're saying still is the individual household. So we can't control what these people are doing in their household. And most of these parents probably just not going to pay attention to their kids or whatever. And they finna beat them and they finna breed a serial killer. We can't just say, oh yeah, they should raise their kids better. That's just not helping.
Well, what I'm saying is I can't go into someone else's house. The government can't go in. That's part of this thing that we call freedom. It's scary, but it is.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. But what I'm saying is we need a community answer to everything. And that's what I be talking about on my channel. So,
But see, I think community answers are individual answers. Why you don't pick up paper in your front yard? Why, as a community, it's okay for us not to take care of our stuff? Why is it not? Why do I not say, like, say I moved into a predominantly white neighborhood and I live in a right now I live in a predominantly black neighborhood. But I'm saying if I moved into a predominantly white neighborhood and I didn't take my trash cans in, 1 week it might be okay, 2 weeks it might be okay. Third week, somebody on that street gonna knock on the door and say, "Hey, bro, we supposed to get our trash cans in. You know, this will bring down the property value and it makes us look bad. I don't have nothing against you, but I would like you to please take your trash cans in." Now, if we do that to each other, we might get our hands blown off fucking with somebody. And so what I'm saying is, from a community standpoint, we don't really give a damn about none of it. Most of it's because we don't own it, but we don't care.
but that's not an acceptable answer. And then the what you were saying about the white neighborhood, the HOA is going to be the ones that say something, and that's a community, and that's the community backing it up as a group, saying, "Get your damn trash cans up, or we're gonna fine you. We're gonna send you. You're gonna have to pay."
But I'm saying if you're in a white community that doesn't have an HOA, if you're in a predominantly Asian community that doesn't have HOA, and there's a bunch of them through the United States that don't necessarily have HOAs. What I'm saying is, you'll find a white guy that will walk down the street, older white dude, and he'll just pick up the trash. Now don't get me wrong, there's some older black men, usually, maybe some women, whichever. But I'm saying the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, they're not caring about taking care of their stuff. And see, this is the thing about the black community. We really are more than one community.
I say that all the time. We're not a monolith. Go on.
No, not at all. But what I'm saying is, in the people that need the most help, in the communities that need some kind of outreach, it's really their soul that needs help, their insides.
Well, I agree. It's a spiritual war. It is.
You know, when Donald Trump said to somebody, he was driving through Baltimore, and he said, "Look at this. Only black people will live like this." Now, it was a terrible thing to say, but in the United States, you drive through Baltimore, Philadelphia, Houston, the worst neighborhoods in this United States.
I can't co-sign with that one. I can't co-sign with that one at all. I don't think that's true. I think that's just what gets propagated. I don't agree with that. I think that's just what's propagated. And a lot of, like I be saying about white people a lot of times, is they got people to come clean up their shit for them. They not cleaner than us at all. They got somebody to come clean their shit up. That's the reason why their shit is clean.
If you go to some of the trailer parks and some of the backwoods of West Virginia and whatnot, you can find some of the same thing. I'm not saying that it's exclusive to us. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you go into the big cities, predominantly, at least 80% of the worst areas are going to be us.
But how much does that have to do with redlining? How much does that have to do with eminent domain? How much does that have to do with freeways, man? You know,
I'm not saying that it's
how much does that have to do with banks and loans?
I'm not saying it's our fault. I'm saying it is what that's the truth. So how you come about that is that, look, we got to take care of our own communities.
And that's where I was going, because I'm glad you said that, because I've been waiting, because that's my point. And you know what bothers me with with black folks, you know, is that attitude of what about my $5? You know, that what about my $5 attitude is what's keeping us all behind. We have to start looking at it as a community. The reason why, like you said, the reason why the white folks is going to tell their neighbor to put the trash up is because it's going to bring down the property values of everybody's house in the whole fucking neighborhood, not just your house. So that's the thing. So if you can get niggas to realize that, you know, it's a community thing. You are hurting the community or we're helping the community. Like, let's all make money. Let's all keep our property values up. You decide to sell your house, you can sell it for more than you bought it for. Stop fucking playing.
And I think there is some change going on. I think like what you're doing right now, I think there is some change. I think you got to think about how far we didn't come from being institutionalized and being everything we work for taken from us. So as a community, we have come a long way. You know, we got a long way to go. But what I'm saying is the main issue is to understand that you cannot trust your own thought process because it's installed.
I don't trust anything, and that's what I tell everybody all the time. And
See,
I don't trust
that's
my
why people
memory.
argue. That's why people argue.
I don't trust
They
my memory
argue.
at all. Because so when people says, "Oh, you said this or you did that or whatever," I'll be like, "Whatever." I'm not going to argue about something that happened in the past, you know. Because first off, like I say, I don't trust my memory because, like you said, you can't trust your mind, and you know how your mind does. It'll create a memory that wasn't there, or it'll distort the memory in a way that's beneficial to your ego. You know what I'm saying? You can't trust it. So, and it's what I always say is I don't trust anything. I really don't. I don't trust anything. I don't trust what I'm looking at right in front of me. I got to double check everything.
See, I'm gonna close. We're gonna close on this. We're gonna give a solution because there has to be some solutions.
That's the point of this.
So, and see, I think you feel like there's some leadership situation that's going to come in and help the whole community. It's not happening. So what I'm saying is the collective effort of us individually needs to be that we understand that our plight is on purpose. Our plight is part of some weird plan that goes back some years. So you got to disconnect from all that you know and seek some real, true answers. And those are different for each person. But what I'm saying is you can't keep doing what you've been doing. You've got to stop and say, look at the evidence. Now, my father-in-law, who I never met, passed away before I married his daughter. He bought these houses and he gave us a house. This house that I live in right now is an old house. I love this house though. But he worked and he gave his daughter and his son-in-law a leg up. Now, that happened with Daddy too. You know that house, what was it? Lawton Avenue? What was the name of that street? Lawton?
Inglewood. They had two houses. They had
Inglewood.
two houses given to them. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, and this is what I mean.
And threw that, they threw that shit away.
Where's the programming?
Trashed
What happened with that? Why you don't live in that house?
Why it's not in my name? Why I don't own it?
That don't make no sense.
Don't make no fucking sense.
And so what I'm saying is you got to get to the soft parts of this problem. The hard parts that we see, that's not the problem. The real problem is what makes you not take care of your own stuff. What makes you not think that you need to give something? You can live on this earth for 50 years and leave $2,500 for each child.
That's something.
That's, well, what were you here for? So what I'm saying is, we gotta stop struggling. The struggle is not real.
I think it's selfishness, right? Because they don't care about nothing. They don't care about leaving something for their kids or whatever. It's just like it's all about me and that's it.
See,
And a lot of
there's a
us in the
scripture.
community have that it's that ego, right?
This is what I'm saying. Just what you're saying. There's a scripture that says, "He that is in you is greater than he that is in the world." But both of those he's are you. One is your ego, and one is your true spiritual self. But you don't ever develop that spiritual self. The ego is so well developed, it drowns out the true self. But the true power is not in your ego. So soon as something happens, you jump back. Nigga ain't gonna call me no punk. I'll knock him out. Ain't no power in that. So that's what I'm saying. So we gotta learn that we're as powerful as we want to be, and that the source of that power comes from God. And we got to leave these teachings, how we feel. Black folks are always the ones that I don't feel like that. That ain't who I am. Well, I mean, from the looks of it, none of that's very good. And so we got to get powerful, like for real powerful. And that's what I'm saying. It's not about money. It's really about how much you can be vulnerable with the next person and be honest and true with that person. See, the saying of don't judge not so you don't be judged, that's like you judging yourself. You talking crap about somebody else, you so critical for yourself, you can't hardly get out of bed. So I'm just saying it really is a matter of us individually being very responsible as parents, as community citizens. Like I've been on this little thing with giving. Each time I get to the off ramp, if there's somebody there asking for money, now I used to be angry if it was a white man. I'd be like, this dude got every opportunity in the world. Now he expects me to give him something. But it's a law, like gravity. Give that white boy something, you got something coming to you. It's a law. So every time I get to the intersection, I make sure I got 10 ones in my pocket, and I give them all $1 every single time.
Do you do that on top of your tithes?
I don't tithe.
Okay.
I don't go to church.
Okay.
I'm a very much a believer in Jesus Christ, but not like most people believe in Jesus Christ. That's another topic. But no.
Yeah, and I don't want to make nobody mad, but I feel like you can pay your tithes without going to church, and that's one way you can do that. It says that in the Bible, doesn't it say that?
It says we're supposed to take care of the poor people, but what I'm saying is it's a law, just like gravity. You can't feel it. You can't feel gravity, but jump your ass off a building. And so what I'm saying, the law is a reaping and sowing. So you give, it's coming back to you.
Yeah. Only problem I have with that is that I feel like you shouldn't give to get something back. You should give out of your heart. I mean, that's it. And if something comes, it comes. If not, that's
just
cool
like
too.
Jump off. But what I'm saying, just like jump off a building. If you jump off a building because you're angry, or you jump off a building because you're just happy, you're still gonna hit the ground. Your intent had nothing to do with the law. And that's just something that I'm practicing right now. and it seems to be working. It really does. I just be giving every time. I be like, oh, there goes one of my little angels that's gonna give me some money back. Bye. And I just give something. So, but what I'm saying is part of those practices are how you grow that spiritual part and try to kill the ego. The ego really got to be killed. It's got to be decapitated.
I agree.
And that's rough.
It's easier said than done.
It's way easier because once you get in the thick of it, you're going to reach for your strongest part.
Because when you're weak, when you're scared, when you're vulnerable, it's your ego who always takes over and, you know, looks out for you, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if it's looking out for you, but he come through.
Well, yeah. I'm not, you know what I mean? He takes over. And, you know, I'm, you know, he is the bad guy. He's the bad guy. But when shit hit the fan, you rely on the bad guy. That's what I'm saying, you know? But that's what makes it hard.
But then I'm saying there starts the cycle again.
Right.
You got to come back through, because when it was time for you to rely on God, when it was time for you to rely on your spirit, when it was time for you to put down that ego, so this is what happened the other day. It's a perfect example. I was my little practice. I came up on a white boy. He's at the damn top of the freeway. My first thing is, this dude could just put on a suit and tie and go get a CEO job. Now he want my money. So I had to put my ego down. So I opened up my wallet, and I ain't had nothing but a $10 bill and a $1 bill.
So you had to make a decision.
I had to make that decision. I gave that honky $10.
That was a hard decision, wasn't it?
It
Took
was
you a
hard,
moment.
bro. It was hard. But what I'm saying is that you gotta develop, you gotta do different. My old me would have said, shit, he ain't getting this $10 bill.
Yeah.
And then I got to start that cycle again till I learned the real law, where that real power is at. So I gave him the $10. And man, I'm telling you, it's been working. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's very and half of this is because I can hear my spirit now. You see, when you're struggling, you can't hear your spirit. When you in the thick of fights, you can't hear your spirit. When your ego is so strong that all you know to do is somebody coming at you, you going back at them. You can't hear your spirit. You can't hear the right answer. You battling with your son or battling with your daughter. And the whole thing is, how are you battling with the one that you love? You shouldn't be, it shouldn't be a battle. One time when I was about 30, and my son Jeff the third, I was coming around and he was on the corner of the couch and he jumped because I walked past him. I said, why you jump? He said, I thought you was gonna hit me. Man, it broke my heart. I never touched him. I never hit him again, bro.
I never spanked my kids.
Well, you better than me, but I learned.
I don't believe in it. I believe it's left over from slavery, and I also believe it's abuse.
It is.
So there's other ways you can get them without freaking physically putting your hands on them or hitting them with something.
And I think there's a period of time between like 1 and 2 where you need to pop them once or twice so they understand, no, that's about it. I do believe that's necessary. But at the point that they can talk to you, and you still hitting them, you just lazy. Because it's the easiest way.
And that's what it is.
But you create
they don't want to have conversations with their children. And then our society is set up in a way where it's like we're supposed to lie to them. And, you know, it's so retarded.
Yeah. All right, bro. I'm going to go to bed. I don't know who's going to watch all this shit right here. This is a long... You might have to break this. When you edit this, you might have to break this up in about 3-4 videos.
Yeah, I might.
We're going to do this again, bro. I enjoyed it.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming through. I always say, everybody, I appreciate your time. You know, I want to build a community, you know what I'm saying, a community of activists. I'm trying to build leaders. I want to teach them. I want to ignite them, and I want them to go out and make a difference in their community. And that's what this channel is all about. And I think that a lot of people learn from little conversations like we had today. You know, they learn a lot from this, and, you know, and hopefully it, you know, gets them to care a little bit, you know, and want to be a little bit more involved.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. You my baby brother, bro, and I love you.
I love you too, man.
Man, I remember when you came to San Diego and spent the weekend, spent the time with us. You know, I mean, it's beautiful, like coming back around and just looking at you and seeing my dad, and just, you know, it was a lot of philosophy. I remember at his funeral, I don't know if you remember, and I got up there and I told everybody, I said, you know, my dad had great philosophies. He just wasn't that great at implementing those philosophies.
Yeah, hopefully I can do it.
Yeah, well, you're doing it, man. You're doing it, and I'm proud of you. You know, so we'll do this again. Again, like I say, I love you, bro, and keep it up. And I've been watching. Man. I was watching before.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Bro.
Peace.
All right, have a good one. Peace. Good night.